Bone Thugs-N-Harmony versus 3-6 Mafia. The clash goes all the way back to the early 1990s, and at the very root of it was one thing: originality. At the time, both groups were carving out their own unique sound, but they were coming from very different worlds. 3-6 Mafia came out of Memphis with a dark, eerie style built around occult themes, horror-inspired imagery, and a rapid machine gun-style flow known as the triple cadence. They'd been pushing that sound since their early Basement tapes in 1989.
We was rapping about, triple six and devil shit, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it, and tongue twisting over slow beats. And we have been doing that since like 89.
Bone Thugs-N-Harmony, meanwhile, erupted out of Cleveland with a completely different vibe. Singing mixed with fast rapping, harmony blended with aggression, and melodies wrapped around that same rapid delivery. When Bone hit the national spotlight, 3-6 Mafia felt their underground style had suddenly been polished, repackaged, and made mainstream without proper credit.
When they came out with Thuggish Ruggish Bone and all that, and we hear something about it, kind of on our same style, like you said, Faces of Death. I was talking about, Red Rum, Murder, 666, Tongue Twisting. We was like, damn, these dudes done stole our style.
By 1995, the tension had boiled over enough that 3-6 Mafia decided to fire the first major shot. They released Live By Yo Rep, a full-on declaration of war aimed straight at Bone Thugs. The record openly accused the Cleveland boys of stealing their style. Bone didn't back down either. They sent shots of their own, including on tracks like No Surrender, where they pushed back against the idea that they were imitators. But by then, the rivalry had already taken on a life of its own. Words eventually turned into real-life tension. Whenever Bone Thugs toured through the South in the mid-90s, trouble always seemed to follow. At a show in Memphis, they barely made it through the event before hearing chants of "Thuggish Ruggish Busters" ringing from the 3-6 Mafia side. The moment almost turned into an all-out fight before security rushed Bone backstage.
As we walking inside the building, we hear some niggas in unison scream out, "Thuggish Ruggish Busters." So we did the show, and we just knew we had beef with these. Then these went got a deal.
In other cities, 3-6 Mafia fans took things into their own hands. At one Memphis club, diehard fans supposedly started throwing bottles at a DJ just for playing Bone Thugs' music. At a show in Atlanta, rival crews squared off in the parking lot, ready to scrap because of their loyalty to their respective regions. Whatever intensified everything, though, was the street reality behind 3-6 Mafia. This wasn't just a regular rap beef. DJ Paul's half-brother, Craig Petty's, was running one of the biggest drug operations in the South, directly tied to the Sinaloa cartel. He later got indicted for at least 6 murders, so when 3-6 Mafia was sending threats on wax, it carried the weight of real street muscle behind it. That gave the beef a level of danger that most rap conflicts never actually reach. Even though both sides eventually cooled off and even worked on music decades later, the tension never truly died. That became painfully obvious during the Versus battle on December 2nd, 2021 in Los Angeles. The show was supposed to be a celebration of both groups' legacies, but instead, it turned into a reminder of everything that had gone wrong. In the middle of the performance, Busy Bone suddenly snapped, accusing 3-6 of mocking him.
Before we even get started, you ugly ain't finna be mocking me while I'm on stage.
He threw a bottle at their crew, and Juicy J immediately charged at him. In seconds, the whole stage erupted into a massive, chaotic brawl. Security had to jump in to keep it from turning into a full riot. That moment showed one thing clearly: some beefs don't ever fully fade away. Capone-N-Noreaga, CNN versus Mobb Deep. The tension started from the complicated social hierarchy of Queensbridge, one of the most legendary housing projects in hip-hop history. Mobb Deep were practically the heart of QB. Capone-N-Noreaga also represented Queens, with Capone coming directly out of QB and N.O.R.E coming in from nearby Lefrak City. So when disrespect started circulating among key figures, it didn't take long for things to get personal. According to Prodigy's memoir, the spark that ignited the whole conflict came from Tragedy Gaddafi, a foundational figure in Queensbridge and mentor to CNN. Prodigy claimed that Tragedy had disrespected Havoc by sleeping with his girlfriend. That one situation created a massive split, one that quickly spread among their circles. The tension finally boiled over at a Queens venue where both groups were scheduled to perform. The moment N.O.R.E arrived, he was surrounded by Mobb Deep's extended crew, the infamous Mob. Members like Ty Nitty and Big Twins didn't waste time. Ty Nitty later admitted that he grabbed N.O.R.E by his hoodie and punched him repeatedly, dropping him to the floor in front of everyone.
And what happened was, I seen Noreaga and I handled my business, point blank. And I grabbed him by his hoodie, and I punched him once, and I punched him twice. I knocked him to the floor. He was bleeding.
N.O.R.E himself confirmed the story years later. He said he got jumped by dozens of dudes, and the whole thing was embarrassing and unexpected. But the story didn't end there. After the beating, N.O.R.E regrouped, grabbed weapons, and returned with his crew looking for payback. Outside a Queens club, gunfire broke out as N.O.R.E's side started shooting at the same people who had jumped him earlier. Ty Nitty was caught directly in the chaos. As he tried to escape by diving into a car, he got shot in the back. N.O.R.E later insisted he never wanted to harm Prodigy or Havoc, saying he was only aiming for the other ninjas who ambushed him. Years later, that old wound was reopened publicly when Prodigy released My Infamous Life, his autobiography where he detailed the entire incident, including the shooting of Ty Nitty. What he considered storytelling, Ty Nitty viewed as betrayal. He was furious that Prodigy had turned real-life trauma into something to sell books. Ty Nitty even said the bullet was still lodged in his body years later, and he didn't appreciate becoming a chapter in someone else's profit.
For a to write a book about some real street that happened, I don't really understand that.
N.O.R.E agreed with him, arguing that putting real street violence into a book crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed. True Life in Saigon versus Mobb Deep. The beef started from something that, in the rap world, is usually simple business. True Life said Prodigy owed him money for a verse, or at least owed him a new verse, because the one Prodigy gave him had already been used somewhere else. When that other project dropped first, True Life felt blindsided. His song became useless, and the verse he paid for or planned for was no longer exclusive. To True Life, this was straight-up disrespect, and when Prodigy stopped picking up his calls and went quiet, True Life interpreted it in the harshest way possible. He felt like Prodigy was treating him like someone not worth calling back.
Mobb Deep incident, man, we had did a record together, me, Prodigy, and Cool G Rap, you know what I'm saying? Shit came out alright, you know what I mean? We had a little buzz going with the record, and the nigga played himself and spit the verse on another record, you know what I'm saying? And when it spit the verse on another record, when we paid him for that verse already, so we ended up getting to a little controversy.
I made more than one phone call. I was calling these kids for over a month, 2 months. You know what I'm saying? I'm calling everybody. I'm calling their manager. I got my manager calling. I got this one calling, that one calling. And you know, they was just showing me no respect.
That frustration, instead of turning into a diss track or some back and forth in magazines, went straight to extreme action. True Life mobilized an entire crew. In 2005, he carried out what could only be described as an armed, military-style raid on Mobb Deep's Manhattan studio. This wasn't a jump or a quick fight outside a club. True Life's people came in with 9 guns, shotguns, and even Uzis. They stormed the studio in full force. People were pistol whipped, robbed, and according to reports, completely stripped naked and forced out into the street. A gun even went off inside the studio during the chaos, showing how close the situation came to becoming fatal.
You know, we ended up taking it there, man. Ran in the studio with 9 guns, two shotguns.
Running with Uzis and shotguns and guns.
You know, slapped a few cats up.
This other kid over here, they pistol whipped him.
Sent the home butt naked and all that.
In the middle of this violent scene, Gizza from Wu-Tang Clan and DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill were both at the studio that day. Despite all the madness happening around them, both were allowed to leave untouched. Even in a moment fueled by fury, True Life still had a rule book about who could and couldn't be harmed.
They didn't even look at me. They didn't even look at Gizza. You know what I mean?
A few of your favorite rappers was in there. You know what I mean? At gunpoint with guns to their faces. But it ain't nothing, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't no drama with them.
The fallout didn't stop with Mobb Deep. Because Saigon was a close friend of True Life, he instantly became guilty by association in Mobb Deep's eyes. Saigon never threw a punch or pulled a weapon, but loyalty alone put a target on his back. Not long after, at the legendary SOB's nightclub, Saigon found himself surrounded by more than a dozen members of Mobb Deep's circle. Someone even flashed a gun and told him directly, "We could kill you right now." Security stepped in before things escalated. Unfortunately, the violent energy True Life was surrounded by didn't stay within rap beef. In June 2009, True Life and his brother Marcus got into a street fight on East 26th Street in Manhattan. The confrontation escalated until 20-year-old Christopher Guerrero was fatally stabbed. The moment ended any possibility of the conflict staying in the world of hip-hop. It became a criminal case. In 2011, True Life pleaded guilty to gang assault and was sentenced to 8 years in prison, while his brother Marcus received 10 years for manslaughter after admitting to the stabbing. After serving 5 years of his sentence, True Life was released in 2016, a very different person from the one who had stormed a recording studio with an armed crew. Fat Joe and Big Pun versus Jay-Z. The conflict was tied to something bigger, the fight for the title of the King of New York and the struggle to keep real street credibility. Fat Joe was rumored to feel that Jay-Z wasn't as authentic as the street image he projected. He supposedly believed Jay was copying the mafioso rap style that Joe had been using long before. Some even claimed Jay sampled Joe's voice on Bring It On, which added fuel to the resentment.
It was more like, for this, he didn't do shit that I've done. He lived my life, he saved my life. It was more of that with Joe. So he never liked Jay-Z as a person, but he loved the way he rhymed and everything, the way he spit.
Everything finally boiled over during one infamous night at the Carbon Club in Manhattan. Jay-Z was supposed to appear for a $15,000 fee. What happened next depends on who tells the story, but the violence began when someone from Terror Squad approached the Rockefeller VIP section and questioned why Jay hadn't honored the performance deal. Instead of a calm explanation, someone from Jay's side allegedly smashed a bottle over the Terror Squad's member's head. The man stumbled back to his people, blood pouring down his face. That one moment transformed the club into a battleground.
Bleak and his people hit the with a bottle on his head. So now the Terror Squad associate comes and he walks back to the VIP where we all at, bleeding. Once that happened, it was a wrap.
Big Pun, who was over 300 pounds, incredibly strong and widely feared, reacted instantly and violently. Pun pulled out a Rambo's knife, started swinging it, and went completely wild. He was tackling people, throwing bottles, and charging through the crowd like a one-man wrecking crew. Reports claim that razors came out and guns were drawn. Cuban Link, who was there, confirmed that Terror Squad chased the Rockefeller crew out of the club. One of the most legendary and debated parts of the story is the rumor that Big Pun cracked a bottle over Jay-Z's head, cutting him open. Some people swear it happened, others deny it, but the story stuck so strongly in hip-hop culture that it became part of Pun's legend. Later on, Nas supposedly threw fuel on the fire on a version of his legendary diss track Ether that never made the final cut. According to rumors, Nas recorded a verse taking direct shots at Jay-Z over the whole Carbon drama, but ended up leaving it off the official version. That unreleased bar allegedly went like this: "Call yourself a gangsta, but you were begging for pardon. That night in Carbon when Terror Squad flipped on your squadron. Try to front on their checks till Pun put a gun to your chest."
There's allegedly a version of Ether, and there's a verse. There's supposedly a line that Nas said, that he said, "Call yourself a gangster, but you were begging for pardon that night in Carbon when Terror Squad flipped on your squadron. Try to front on their checks till Pun put a gun to your chest."
The chaos didn't end that night. Rumors say that after the Carbon Club incident, Pun and Fat Joe confronted Jay-Z backstage in Chicago. One story claims Pun chased Jay around a couch in the green room, ready to attack him again. Whether exaggerated or not, it shows how serious things were at the time. Eventually, a truce was made. Fat Joe later admitted he regretted the years lost to beef. 50 Cent stabbed at Hit Factory. The beef between 50 Cent and Ja Rule grew into one of the longest, nastiest, and most persistent rivalries in hip-hop. The origins go back to around 1999, and depending on who tells the story, it started for different reasons. One version says one of 50's friends robbed Ja Rule for his chain. Later on, Ja ran into 50 at a club and saw him hanging out with the same guy who took it. From there, the tension exploded.
A friend of mine's robbed Ja Rule. And I'm in a club, and I see the I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" He see me kicking it with the that robbed him, and he feel like, "Oh, I speak to this dude because I know the kid robbed him, but I know this kid, I grew up with him."
But Ja Rule denied that story completely. According to him, the beef began when Murder Inc. ignored 50 Cent during a video shoot and treated him like he didn't matter. Either way, disrespect, real or perceived, sparked a fire neither side was willing to put out.
50 comes in the back, says what's up again, and I guess he didn't get enough conversation from Rule. Rule just said what's up and kept moving, and I think he wanted to talk to him some more than he did or whatever, and was probably a little pissed off or something. And then that's shortly after that is when he started doing little mixtapes or underground records.
That same year in October, 50 Cent released a single from his shelved debut album, Power of the Dollar, which was a blatant diss directed at Ja and Murder Inc. It didn't name Ja Rule directly, but it did mock his label's signature murder chant, which gave fans enough of an idea about who the track was directed towards. To Murder Inc., this crossed the line. They were already furious, and now 50 looked like he was using their name to rise in the industry. The first physical clash happened at a club in Atlanta where both artists were booked. The tension boiled into a fight, chains were snatched, crews clashed, and the beef became something that could no longer stay on records. But the real turning point came on March 24, 2000, at a hit factory in Manhattan. Murder Inc. tracked 50 Cent to the studio. Ja Rule, who was on crutches at the time from an ankle injury, arrived with his crew, shouting to his crew to get at 50. In a dim hallway, everything erupted. Black Child, one of Murder Inc.'s artists, stepped forward and stabbed 50 Cent multiple times. 50 was hit in the chest and his hands were slashed as he tried to block the knife. Black Child later bragged about the stabbing publicly, saying he acted in self-defense and claiming 50 reached for a gun, a claim 50 denied. Bleeding heavily, 50 managed to escape the building and stumbled into the lobby of a nearby building. That's where he crossed paths with Benzino. Even though they didn't know each other then, Benzino saw how serious the situation was and rushed 50 to the hospital in a car service. Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, and Chris Gotti were all arrested, but the charges didn't stick. Murder Inc. ended up paying around $250,000 for medical expenses, but the stabbing didn't silence 50. It made him even louder. He dropped more diss tracks, became even more aggressive, and used the beef to fuel his rise. Gucci Mane shoots Pookie Loc. The deadly feud between Gucci Mane and Young Jeezy began with a song and money. In 2005, both rappers were buzzing in Atlanta, and their collaborative track Icy had the streets on fire. But things went bad fast when Jeezy believed the record belonged on his debut album, while Gucci decided to keep it for his own independent release, Trap House. Jeezy also claimed he was never paid for his verse. That disagreement over who owned the track turned into a major sign of disrespect in the streets. On May 9, 2005, Jeezy poured gasoline on the fire. He released Stay Strapped, a diss track aimed directly at Gucci, but the song included a very real, very dangerous threat. Jeezy said he was putting a $10,000 bounty on Gucci Mane's chain with the line, "I got a bounty on that ish dude, 10 stacks, so if you come to your town and you just happen to snatch that mother F off his neck, I'ma shoot you the 10 stack, man, so I can cremate that mother F." Gucci responded immediately with his own diss, Round 1, making it clear he wasn't backing down. But within 24 hours of the diss tracks being released, something far darker happened. 4 armed men went to a house in Decatur, Georgia, where Gucci was visiting a friend. They assaulted him, threatened him, and tried to overpower him. But Gucci fought back. He reached for a pistol and opened fire in self-defense. During the shootout, Henry Lee Clark III, better known as Pookie Loc, was shot.
He visited a young lady, went over to her place. She was there, he was there. At one point, she opened up a door. 5 guys come running in, had a weapon, hit one of the other guys with a weapon. It became a situation where he defended himself.
Pookie Loc was a rapper signed to Young Jeezy's label, Corporate Thugs Entertainment. His body was later found behind a nearby school. The timing made everything even more chilling. This deadly encounter happened within a day of Jeezy's bounty being announced on record. Gucci Mane turned himself in shortly afterward. He was charged with murder, and the case dragged on for months, but in January 2006, he was acquitted. The court accepted his self-defense claim, supported by eyewitness testimony. Legally, Gucci was cleared, but in the streets, the story was locked in. Pookie Loc's death instantly became the heaviest part of the Gucci-Jeezy rivalry. It lingered for years and resurfaced publicly during their 2020 Versus battle. In one of the most shocking moments of the night, Gucci performed The Truth and bluntly said, "I'm smoking on Pookie Loc tonight."
Put that in the dirt.
I tell you what.
Smoking on Pookie Loc tonight.
The shooting wasn't just a chapter in their feud, it was a defining scar. Lil JoJo, BDK track. This wasn't just a music beef, this was a collision between 2 long-standing rival organizations on Chicago's South Side, the Gangster Disciples, GD, and the Black Disciples, BD. Lil JoJo, only 18 at the time, was part of the GD-affiliated 069 Brick Squad set. On the opposite side stood Chief Keef's O-Block and Lil Durk's Lamron, 2 BD sets united under the 300 banner. For years, these groups lived in constant conflict, so when rap entered the picture, it simply put gasoline on an already burning fire. Things really started heating up when Lil Durk dropped L's anthem. Durk directly mocked the GDs and the Brick Squad faction with the line, "Brick Squad, I say F him. We'll go world with him, so it's F him." JoJo wasn't even trying to be a full-time rapper at that point, but hearing his entire set disrespected on a big platform pushed him into action.
He didn't really want to rap until he heard Lil Durk's song, that L's anthem. Cause we heard it on the radio, like we driving, you know? It was me and him, I remember we driving, boom. He said, Brick Squad, we said him. Like this on the radio, you know what I'm saying? You talking about on the radio. Man, he went crazy, fool, he ain't like that. He said, you heard that, bro? Hell no, we finna go crazy, that's it. After that, shoot, he was going crazy, bro.
JoJo responded with a track that would change everything, 300K, better known as BDK. The title alone, Black Disciple Killer, was straight up war language, but JoJo didn't stop there. He recorded the diss over one of Chief Keef's own beats, basically hijacking the sound of his enemies and turning it against them. His lyrics were aggressive, sharp, and clear. He even name-dropped Durk, rapping, "Durk say F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this effing 40, now they got him on a stretcher." Police later said these songs were heightening inter-gang tensions in real time. But the song was only part of JoJo's approach. He wasn't hiding, he was outside every day, flashing guns on social media, taunting BD sets and confronting rivals in public. The most famous example was when he pulled up on Lil Reese in traffic and shouted threats at him. That clip spread everywhere, making JoJo look bold to some people and reckless to others. One thing was certain, he had put himself dead center in a gang war where visibility could get you killed. Then came the tragic turning point. On September 4th, 2012, JoJo posted his exact location on Twitter. "I'm on 069, I'm out here." It was like sending a signal directly to the people who wanted him gone. A few hours later, while riding a bike in the IngleWeird area, a car pulled up beside him, a Ford Taurus. Shots were fired. JoJo was hit in the chest, stumbled, and collapsed. He died shortly after. The timeline between dropping the diss track and his death was shockingly short, around 4 days. No one was ever arrested for the murder, but the reaction online made the situation even darker. Chief Keef jumped on Twitter, laughing. JoJo's mother later accused Keef of paying someone to kill her son. Whether true or not, the murder only pushed Chicago deeper into a cycle of retaliatory killings that still hasn't fully ended. Drakeo the Ruler, IngleWeird track. He wasn't just another rapper from Los Angeles. He had his own sound, his own slang, and his own lane. Fans loved it, but enemies paid very close attention to it. For years, he had been wrapped up in a high-stakes war involving the Crip-affiliated Stink Team and one of LA's most feared groups, the Inglewood family gangster Bloods. After beating major charges, including a murder case that could have ended his career forever, Drakeo came home with even more confidence. Instead of lying low, he spoke openly about his enemies, mocked their neighborhoods, and reminded people that the Stink Team wasn't afraid of any opposition. The final spark came in September 2021 when he dropped IngleWeird. The title alone was a slap in the face to the city of Inglewood, but the lyrics went even deeper. Drakeo didn't hide the message. He was calling out his rivals directly, making them look weak and foolish on a national stage. The street energy around the song was tense. Rapper YG, who many believe has ties to the IFGB, made a subtle but cold statement in an interview, saying that he and his circle don't do rap beef, and when things get real, the homies are going to get you.
I'm not finna be going out there doing no rap diss, cause like, if it's smoke, it's really smoke with us. We ain't playing, you know? All that rap beef and all that we not rap beefing, we really beefing. The homies gonna get you.
Drakeo, being Drakeo, didn't back down. He kept performing, kept talking, and kept pushing the line despite everything swirling around him. 3 months after the track dropped, everything came to a head. On December 18th, 2021, Drakeo arrived at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival to perform. He walked backstage with his crew, unaware that his rivals had already set things in motion. Witnesses said a group of men in burgundy hoodies appeared first, likely members or associates of the IFGB. But that was just the beginning. Soon, what witnesses described as a tidal wave of attackers rushed in, more than 100 men dressed in red, surrounding Drakeo and a small crew of 7. Chaos erupted, and somewhere in that frenzy, someone stabbed Drakeo in the neck. He collapsed almost instantly. His team tried to fight back, but they were outnumbered to an extreme degree. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital shortly after, but the wound was too severe. Drakeo died on December 19, 2021.
A concert turned deadly in Los Angeles last night. A rapper known as Drakeo the Ruler was stabbed in the neck backstage during a music festival at Exposition Park.
The case remains officially unsolved. No arrests, no charges, no suspects named. But everyone in LA street world says the same thing. This was not random. This was a direct response to the disrespect Drakeo delivered on IngleWeird.